we're all using ChatGPT and other large language models. They're running on the data center. And the ideal scenario is to have this capability in your smartphone and in other edge scenarios. For example, the automobile, some years ago, there was a lot of talk about autonomous driving. Has gone a little bit quiet because they're really struggling. But I think that there'll be a case for large language models and generative AI because they've shown that they can do logical reasoning. And that's something that I think would be really valuable in automobiles. So how do we get these LLMs small enough to run on a smartphone? And there's quite a lot of interesting research being done to work with smaller models. And the advantage of those, of course, is that, first of all, they're more cost effective to train. They will provide security and privacy on the edge. And that's a really important factor because if you want, one of the scenarios people are talking about is using AI as your personal assistant. And you're going to be dealing with confidential information, sensitive information that you don't want to be made public. And so if you're interacting with a large language model on the cloud, there's going to be questions about who has access to that data. But if it's your large language model running, trained and augmented, fine-tuned with your data on your devices, then I think that's the ideal scenario. So all the smartphone manufacturers are working towards this, and they're working with these smaller models, maybe 2 billion parameters as opposed to GPT-3, which is around 175 billion parameters. And they are getting near to the performance of GPT-3. So this is clearly an evolving research, but it's very promising. And Apple and Samsung and Qualcomm and all these players that have an interest in edge devices, they're all working on these models. So I think that's something that we'll see and hear a lot more about. And clearly, training is a big thing on the data center, but inferencing, where you're actually using these models in real-world scenarios, that's really where the big use cases and the most usage of these models would take place. And having these models on the edge, I think it really will explode the adoption of this technology.